Hello everyone. We all have heard many quotes such as justice delayed is justice denied or injustice anywhere is threat to justice everywhere. So let's try to understand what justice is, why justice is delayed, what are the effects of delayed justice and other aspects in this project. So the basic question arises is what is justice? Justice in its broader sense is the principle that people receive that they deserve. Suppose we are in a courtroom and someone has done something wrong to you, then you will want them to get what they deserve. Even Article 14 and 21 states that justice is a fundamental right. The three principles that our justice system needs to reflect are equality, fairness, and access. By equality, we mean laws should apply to everyone equally and not provide exceptions or any sort of discrimination. By fairness, it is meant that everyone is given an opportunity to present their case fairly without discrimination, with strict adherence to rules, evidence, and law. And the third principle states that the resources, procedures, and institutions for justice should be accessible to everyone. Ideally, our justice system should work like this, but current state of delivery of justice is way different than euphoric definition of justice. India now has more than 4 crore pending cases spanning the Supreme Court, various high courts, and numerous district and subordinate courts. If a person tries to fight for justice starting from district court to high court and then to Supreme Court, average life of his case will be 10 to 15 years. Many cases are observed to be pending for more than 20 years also. And in many such cases, when the hearing date comes, neither the victim is alive nor the accused. And the longer the case runs, the more expensive it becomes to pursue. That's why it can be considered that getting justice in India is a luxury and isn't accessible to all. As per the current scenario of our country, it will take 300 years to clear the backlog of cases in Indian courts. Here we can see the state-wise pending cases which were pending for more than 5 years. Here we can see West Bengal, UP, Bihar, Odisha have a large number of pending cases for more than 5 years. And it somehow indicates that effectiveness of judicial system and literacy rate are somehow correlated. This data is taken from the Indian Justice Report of 2020. Let's see some examples. It took 20 years for issuing the final order by Supreme Court in Uphaar cinema case, where 59 people were died because of criminal negligence of cinema management and Delhi government. Moreover, one of the accused brother did not have to serve a further more sentence because of his old age. In Nirbhaya rape case, 4 men were finally hanged 7 years after the brutal crime. Vishnu Tiwari served in Agra jail for 20 years for a crime which he never committed. In Safadar Hashmi murder case, it took 15 years for delivery of judgment. Why is it so? Why so much pending cases and delayed judgments? The hopelessly inadequate number of judges and also courts in the country is undoubtedly one of the major reasons of such delay. Successive governments have not only failed to increase the numeric strength of judges and courts, but also have been slack in filling up vacancies. The habit of taking adjournments by lawyers is another reason behind delay. Some lawyers take adjournments unnecessarily to harass opposite parties and to extract money from their clients. Some of them causes delay by continuing meaningless arguments day by day. Endless amendments of laws is another reason behind the delay. Most of Indian laws were amended again and again. As a result, it takes many time to understand and explain the new provisions of law. It kills valuable time of court. The present condition of the infrastructure of Indian courts and courtrooms are not up to the standards. More than 50% of the district courts do not have any basic facilities. Effective and appropriate preparation of budget is a crucial for the successful functioning of any institution. It is unfortunate that judiciary has not taken this seriously enough. An example from the recent past offices, the 13th Finance Commission allocated 5,000 crore rupees to the judiciary for a variety of activities, including recruitment of professional courts and court managers. Unfortunately, only about 20% of the total amount was utilized over a 5-year period. Those who have approached a police station anywhere in India for redressal against a crime know that it's not an easy task. Often, even in the case of a cognizable offense which constitutes serious crimes such as rape, murder, Dakati, etc., the police dismisses it in a daily diary entry. Here in the chart from Indian Justice Report, we can see the state-wise status of judge vacancies, court halls, budgets, and clearance rates.
So now we will look into the economic and social impact of delayed justice. So a slow judiciary with a large number of pending cases has reduced the trust in the economy and has made people fearful. Slow courts have increased the cost of enforcing contracts by delaying the payoff of taking an agent to the court. The contracts are costly to enforce because cases take years or even decades to resolve, so parties may avoid making investments. This hinders the development of the country. Secondly, a slow judiciary forces the participants to adopt loss minimizing strategies, which are not always efficient, resulting in rise of the cost of goods and services. So if we consider a simple example, presently landowners are compelled to increase the rent significantly or ask the tenant to deposit a security amount to cover the risk due to the insecurity created by a weak judiciary. Thirdly, a weak judiciary also leads to lower per capita income, high poverty rates, lower private economic activity, poor public infrastructure, and high crime rates. So here is a graph that plots the difference in the average employment growth rates between the contract intensive industries and non-contract intensive industries against the court efficiency for major Indian states. It clearly depicts that lesser is the fraction of pending cases, more is the employment growth rate in the states. Now we will observe the relation between increased crime rates and delayed justice. So, delay in rendering justice results in a lack of fear among the culprits. This can lead to a perception that the wrongdoers can get away with their crimes due to this incompetent justice system. This causes rise in the crime rates in the country. The relation can also be explained with the help of the relative deprivation theory. According to this theory, if a certain group of people who feel that they are being deprived of something considered essential to the society, for example, money, rights, justice, they will organize or join social movements dedicated to obtaining the things of which they feel deprived of. This will increase the crime rates in the society. So let's explain this theory with an example. Suppose a daily breadwinner of the family gets killed and the murderer gets away due to the failure of filing a charge sheet in time, or the accused acquires bail due to his connection with the higher authorities, then it gives the family an incentive to commit a crime in order to furnish the amount required to fulfill their daily needs. So, not only it will be disastrous for the society if this continues, but will also trap them in a vicious cycle where more crimes have been committed and less justice is being rendered, leading to a increased number of broken down and economically poor families. In short, this total society will be trapped in the vicious cycle. Thirdly, delayed justice have resulted in people acknowledging extrajudicial killings. The Law Commission of India, in its 239 report, noted that inordinate delays in investigation and prosecution of criminal cases has eroded the fear of law and the faith of the people in the judicial system, and some have even questioned the legitimacy of the judiciary. It is as clear as daylight that those who are entitled to get justice much earlier have to wait endlessly due to this long process of justice delivery system. Even if the person has been accused of a heinous crime like rape or murder, it takes years for the victims or the families to receive justice. During this period, especially in the case where women have been a victim of assault, molestation, or rape, she suffers from secondary victimization. The criminal justice system does not take into account the emotional, social, and professional toll that such assault can have on the survivor's life. For instance, in spite of a prolonged trial or rape, sometimes there is acquittal of an accused for some reasons or the other. The long rape trial and the humiliating questions asked by the defense counsel destroys the victim completely, both in the court and in the society, as the stigma attached ruins her whole life. So, in spite of the government setting up some fast track courts, people are preferring that the culprits are brought to instant justice rather than waiting for it for 20 to 25 years. People are so frustrated by the current state of justice that they have lost all hope and are happy with any kind of extrajudicial justice or justice by gun. This has been proven by multiple accounts where people have publicly acknowledged the extrajudicial killings.
So here are some examples where it was clearly shown that the general public were frustrated by the current justice system. First is the incident of Bharat, also known as Akku Yadav. Akku Yadav was a notorious criminal who was murdered by a mob consisting of around 200 women inside the court premises at Nagpur in 2004. This was the first and the only time in recent history that an accused was murdered inside court premises. Observers noted that public had the perception that he needed to get instant justice as the law would take years. He had in fact 25 cases registered against him for charges of murder, robbery, extortion, rape, and despite being arrested multiple times, he was granted bail every single time. Thus, it was the failure of law due to which people dared to murder Akku Yadav. Example is of Vikas Dubey. He had over 60 criminal cases against his name and was also the main accused in killing of 8 policemen during an attempted arrest. Police declared him an absconder with a bounty of 5 lakh before he was finally arrested on 9 July in Ujjain. He was killed on 10 July in an encounter after the police vehicle carrying him met with an accident. Media reports said that because of his political connections, Vikas Dubey had been acquitted for most of his murders despite the presence of multiple witnesses at the crime scene. Another example of instant justice is the encounter of the 4 accused in the rape and murder of a 25-year-old in Hyderabad. The encounter was met with jubilation. Thousands of people celebrated at the scene of the man's death the following day. A large number of politicians, celebrities, police officials, and even one union minister began lauding the action. The BBC attributed the celebration to frustration with the meandering pace of the judicial system in India.
In this section, we analyze the rise of vigilante justice in India and discuss if this method of swift justice is becoming the new norm in our nation. Vigilante justice is when people claim to enforce the law but lack the legal authority to do so. Why do we feel that vigilante justice is on rise in India? It is because of incidents like lynching of an accused in the court premises by a mob of 200 women, encounter of rape accused in Hyderabad, and the movie-like shootout of gangster Vikas Dubey by the police personnel show the rise of vigilante justice in India. What is more shocking is the amount of support all these incidents have gained and the positive outlook shown by the general public. People could be seen throwing flowers in appreciation of policemen involved in these examples, announcing awards for the escaped crusaders. It should be noted that people hail extrajudicial reprisals when the law proves dysfunctional. People give up the hope of justice through constitutional channels and look for quick ways to get redemption. But it should be noted that when the rule of law does not matter, who takes the hit can be entirely arbitrary. As who is in power changes, so does who is in the line of fire. The innocent in this case is decided by who is more powerful. Our quote, usually used to describe wars, fits pretty well here. It doesn't matter who was right, only who is left. Is vigilante justice becoming the new norm? Examples of swift justice by police personnel are being celebrated by citizens as justice delivered. Cases are on rise where common citizens take on themselves to punish the supposed culprit. These common people not only try to act as keepers of law, but also as preserver of social norms and cultural identity. Till now, debates were centered around whether harsh and cruel methods were the answer to increasing and horrific crimes taking place in society. But now people, including legislators, have made bizarre demands like castration and lynching of sex offenders. With these incidents on rise and this swift justice mentality of people, we have crossed one more boundary which has dangerous consequences. That of saying that we do not need rule of law and that we can hand over the business of justice to organized lynch mobs or heroic extrajudicial law enforcers who will have the power to decide who the criminals are and how they should be treated and what punishment would be apt for them. Many people ask, what is wrong with law enforcers providing swift justice or with concerned citizens taking steps to prevent unlawful activities? After all, people like Nalini Sriharan, who murdered Rajiv Gandhi, sits still in jail, wasting taxpayers' money. Terrorists like Ajmal Kasab were in jail for 4 years before being hanged. Rapists in Nirbhaya case were able to evade hanging for around 7 years. And all this time they were on taxpayers' money. But people need to realize that if people start taking law in their own hands, it would increase the lawlessness. This want of quick justice would lead to incorrect justice many a times. Our judicial system believes thousand culprits can escape, but one innocent should not be punished. Those in majority would get to decide who the criminals are and what the punishment should be. This would create a large bias towards minority. Those in power can use this to save the actual culprit and frame the innocent.
So now in this section, we will discuss about the conclusion and the steps that can be taken to improve the situation, like increasing the police population ratio, judge population ratio, and increasing the number of courthouses, and investing in the technology and use of the technology to improve the quality of the judiciary system. So so when the vigilant justice take place, so there are the things which violates the democracy of a country and the fundamental rights of a accused person. So basically the democracy is the rule of the people, by the people, and for the people. Democracy differentiates itself from majoritarianism by the virtue of certain individual and the group it commits itself to. The will of a temporary majority cannot breach those rights. To secure those rights, certain institutions and institutional mechanism are integral to the democracy. So when we talk about the Hyderabad case, the four accused were killed without the benefit of the due process. No person shall be convicted of any offence except for the violation of a law in force at the time of the commission of the act cha- charged as a offence, nor be subject to a penalty greater than that which might have inflicted under law in force at the time of the commission of the offense. This says Article 20 of the Constitution. So, under in that case, there was a clear violation of the Article 20 and Article 21 that's, that ensures the fundamental rights of the accused. With that, there was also a violation of the right to equality, which says that every person has the equal right for the law. And with that, there is also the laws in the faith for the judiciary system. No person shall be deprived his life or personal liberty except according to procedure established by law. This is the Article 21. So these basic two fundamental rights were blatantly violated by the state in the Hyderabad. Now, the responsibility cannot be brutality. So the rape and the murder of a young woman in the Hyderabad was gruesome enough. The response of the state of the rounding of four pre-assumed culprits and bumping them bumping them off in a so-called encounter was no less appealing. The response of many, particularly those in the public life who gleefully cheered the police action, is indeed horrific. Indians have to be careful while washing their skin with the deep cleansing lotions. This might peel off the entirely of the democratic sensibility they have managed to accumulate. So when we respond to brutality with the equal or greater brutality, we will end up into ourselves a more brutal society. We need to focus on socialization, education, and awareness building towards creating a more equal society. So now, when the response of a system towards when it comes to response of a system toward the violence, we need to think of the what really ails the system. So we need to think of the steps which can ail the system. Such possible reforms are the one of the major first reform is to improve the quantity and quality of the judiciary system. As we can see, as of January 2017, there are more than 28 million cases pending in the India, and there has been more than 22% vacancies in the police department and more than 20% vacancies in the judiciary system, in the judiciary department, and which is I think a major number. And also there is a less quantity of the qualified judge is less as compared to other countries. And also there is one of the major factors that there is a less percentage of women in the police forces, that is around 7% in the police forces and 26.5% in the judiciary system. These are the steps we can take, and with that there has been also need to take care of the uh, judiciary courts and the police, that they also need to take care of the judicial courts per area. And we have to improve and extending the lok adalas has been extensively working in the many areas, and they have been working they have been working very effectively. So but in so we can improve them and extend their chance in the various areas. Next is educating people and making them believe in the judiciary. So when we talk about the various this vigilant justice, then we can see that there is a anger across the people for the delayed justice, and there is anger, and also there is a slightly disbelief in the judiciary system. So they take the law in their hands, oh, but that need to be stopped. So more transparent mechanism are needed, where the information on the crime and the systematic response to crime is more easily available on the year-to-year basis, and fast and the efficient decisions to be taken. Educating people about the transparency of the judicial system make them believe in the judicial system, and strong punishment for people taking the law into their hands, and strong punishment for the for the vigilant justice. Another one is a factor which can be very useful in the today's time, that is digitalizing the judiciary system. So digitalize procuring necessary equipment so procuring necessary equipments and the training of the judicials regarding the digitalized uh, courtrooms, train the personnel on the use of IT, publication of judgment. So this is the also a good thing. So whatever the judgment is, there has to be a portal where the every judgment has every detailed procedure and the judgment of that, and establishment of the website and the virtual courts can be held, which can save the time and improve the efficiency of the judiciary system. So now when we focus on the conclusion, the legal aid system need to be improved, and the post of social workers in the criminal justice are required to provide sociological guidance and support victim offenders who can be rehabilitated. All this will require a political will and resources, which is a small part to pay for our safety and security. But now the question is, will we push our political parties and governments to move in this direction, or would we be satisfied with the instant justice and revenge? Thank you.